I'm Norman Cash, president of the Television Bureau of Advertising. Right now, the furniture industry is in the midst of a profound revolution. This once conservative retail operation has been shaken to its $8 billion roots by a new phenomenon called warehouse showrooms. And the pioneer and a major factor in this upheaval is the Levitz Furniture Corporation. Levitz warehouse showrooms are unique in many ways. They offer customers the carry-out convenience of supermarketing. They feature a wide selection of brand furniture in the medium-priced range. They display the furniture in room settings and offer the merchandise at discount prices. Levitz Furniture has been involved in many significant developments. Numerous stories on the company have appeared in important business publications, including Business Week and Forbes magazine. Obviously, the phenomenal success of this company is of the interest to all the major media, and hence we are here to give you this report today. Secondly, Home Furnishings Daily, the Bible of the furnishings industry, named Ralph Levitz its Retailer of the Year. Third, an important item on Levitz appeared in the lead story of the financial section of the New York Times. Fourth, on that very same day, Home Furnishings Daily carried a page on page 1 of Levitt's growing use of television. Here to give us all the important insights into what's happening and why is Ralph Levitz, the chairman of the board of the Levitz Furniture Corporation. Mr. Levitz, how did your company become so unique, and how did you start so much excitement in the furniture industry?
Well, you know, Pete, the furniture business is a rather staid sort of thing. There was no excitement, there was no imagination in the thing, and actually, too, they had developed a very costly, very expensive way of doing business, and of course, these costs and expenses had to be passed on to the consumer in the form of rather high prices. And what we actually did was to simplify the business, really, and get down to the basics of it, cut out all the waste, cut out all the inefficiency, with an effort to bring down costs. We were successful in that effort, and the result, by bringing down costs, we could bring down the prices. We added to the fact that we were able to lower prices, the fact that we had the inventory right on hand in a well-engineered warehouse, you see, so that the handling costs would be low. The inventory was there. It was a lot of brand name merchandise there, available for either immediate delivery or immediate pickup, you know. And then, in order to display this mass or mountain of merchandise, it's on view in our warehouse, every customer sees it as they walk through, was a beautiful showroom displaying the items that were in stock, you see.
Well, you've anticipated my second question, which was really, would you be good enough to describe a typical warehouse showroom, and as a customer would see it from the time he enters the showroom until he picks up his own furniture?
Yeah, surely. As he comes into our parking lot, he approaches an enormous building. It's a large building that includes in it the entire operation. It's a warehouse and the offices and the showroom all in one building. Generally, the building is located for easy access by automobile near an expressway intersection of some kind. We make it easy for the consumer to get to us, you see. In most cases, it's located near a railroad, so we can benefit from low freight rates. As the consumer walks in, we actually purposely have him walk through a portion of the warehouse. And in this warehouse, he'll see enormous racks reaching up 32 feet high, with furniture stacked on the racks, much like he'd see groceries stacked in a supermarket, you see. And he walks through this mountain of merchandise, may I say, and then eventually walks into the showroom where he sees samples of this merchandise on display. Now, our display is far better than has ever been done before, in that we display in the form of galleries. And there's a French gallery, and there's a Mediterranean gallery, and a modern gallery. And every piece of merchandise, or every room setting, is highly accessorized. A woman can see a complete room. She can buy a complete room. The color scheme is well done. The styling is well done, you see, by people in our company whose business it is to set it up this way, you see.
Now, would you be good enough to focus your attention for a moment on some of your new store openings? As I recall, you're already nationwide, but can you recall anything unique about your opening, say, in Phoenix or Miami or Dallas or Santa Clara?
The original opening program did confuse some people, but there was a purpose in it. We tried or tested the concept all the way across the country. Actually, the first one was in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And these are some pretty tough, frugal Dutch people, you understand. They don't waste any money. The next one was in Phoenix, Arizona, completely, very much across the country. Different kind of people again, retired people, pensioners, and so forth. People that had to measure their dollar, you see. Then the next one was in Miami, totally different area again. And then, of course, mid-country in Dallas. These were the first four. They were spread across the country. Our point was this: if the concept was valid, if it was really going to work, we tested in all parts of the country, we could prove that to ourselves. At the very same time, these would then be springboard for us to step into an expansion program.
It appears to me that there's been a long history of the Levitz family in this business. So when did you really actually start by date?
Well, the business started in 1910 when our father opened his first business in a little town of Lebanon, Pennsylvania.
Lebanon, Pennsylvania.
And he was a general merchandiser at first, but he gradually swung into furniture. We were full-fledged furniture by 1921. And the next big step was a branch being opened in Pottstown, Pennsylvania in 1936. We continued from then until 1963 as conventional furniture dealers doing business in the normal way. We were considered rather large dealers, considering the sizes of our two towns, Lebanon, PA, and Pottstown, PA. We did well over $1 million in volume in either of those towns, so we were considered rather large conventional dealers at that time.
Well, in order to grow further, I've always felt that the opportunity for America to invest in business is that opportunity when a company goes public. Now, would you be good enough to give us a little bit of background on why you went public, or at what price was the original stock you offered? I've forgotten now.
Well, having decided that the concept was valid and really good because it was accepted by the consumers in these various parts of the country, accepted enthusiastically, we decided we now had a valid thing that could be expanded. We worked up until that point with our own money. Money that had been earned over many years and plowed back into the business. But it was insufficient for a large, rapid expansion program. It was then decided, we had come to the attention of a number of underwriters in New York, and finally we decided that Basin Company would take us public to raise money for the purposes purely of expansion.
Now, good. I'm glad to see that. I noticed Basin Company did pretty well last year, too.
Oh, they did well for themselves.
By the way, since that time, the original stock offering, the Levitz Furniture Corporation has become one of the glamour stocks on the street. Now, why is this?
Well, for several reasons. First of all, we developed a great deal of credibility. We had a track record of performance that exceeded 50% in sales and earnings for at least a 5-year period. This was before we went public. It's a natural thing for a securities analyst to take a past record and project it into the future. And they started to do that. They found that we could meet and exceed this particular projection.
Mr. Levitz, can I ask you to direct some comments now to sales figures, including volume, gross volume of sales, and net income and earnings per share?
Yes, I'll be very happy to do that, Mr. Cash. Sales, as one looks back at them, one will notice that there's been a tremendous increase from year to year in our sales. Sales being as little as $3 million in 1964, increasing to $8 million the year after that, and then 12, and 18, 26, 39 million, 66 million, and finally last year, $99 million in sales, and with an expected 175 to 180 million this year.
That's fabulous. Now, how about net income?
Net income increased in the same proportion, from as little as $60,000 roughly in 1963 to $4.5 million last year, and an expected between $7 and $8 million this year.
Can you translate that for us to earnings per share?
Yes, if you translate the earnings per share, we might say that earnings per share was as little as just a couple cents back in 1963, and it's up to 87 cents a share this past year, and an expected $1.50 to $1.60 per share this year.
Unbelievable. Now, obviously, your company has had rapid growth. How many Levitz warehouse showrooms are there in existence today?
The opening of these two, the two in Washington, D.C., that takes us to 32 units, you see.
And you're spread in how many different markets?
About 25 different markets. Now, some markets have more than one Levitz operation in it, you see.
Also, there's a uniqueness, I'm told, about your sales force, and furthermore, I've been told by your competitors of the envy of the furniture industry. Now, how do you get your salesmen to be interested in the customer, and what kind of training programs, for instance, do you have?
Well, when we get into a new area, we do hire salesmen in that particular area, understand. We generally get them from other stores, as a matter of fact, where they don't have the opportunity. Put them on a sales floor that's got a tremendous selection of many, many rooms of furniture, backed up by inventory and stock, you see. A salesman can make sales quickly. He can make sales that can be delivered quickly. So he actually can sell many more customers. And it's a good opportunity for him.
You're very frank, and I'm going to take advantage of you, Ralph. Your salesman's commissions average over $18,000 a year, way above the others in similar jobs. Now, how do you justify this kind of compensation?
Well, frankly, it's highly justified. Our salesmen actually earn the smallest commission percentage-wise in the entire industry. The reason they make more money is because they have many more customers to work with, and many advantages in working with these customers, the advantages of having stock and quick delivery and having a lot of traffic on the floor at all times, you see.
Now, the name Levitz is still relatively unknown when you enter a new market. How do you reach this buying consumer?
Well, now, we're great believers in advertising. We think we've got a story to tell, and we go right on out and tell it through all of the media that are available to us, which, of course, is newspaper, radio, television, and other means of communicating.
Now, how do you project an advertising budget for a market?
Well, this is planned pretty well in advance. We know the size of the market. We know what volume can be expected in that market, and we budget the advertising to produce that particular volume.
What will the range of your budgets be? Is that a fair question?
Well, it's a fair question. The budget could easily be between 4 and 8% of expected sales.
Well, now I'm going to be a little bit selfish. What part do you feel television plays in your advertising program?
Well, a part that it could earn. We frankly feel very favorably toward television, and as time goes on and we've learned how to use the medium, this medium, I think that's the big difference. Some people know how to use a medium, advertising, and some don't. And I think there's always a right and better way, perhaps, to use a medium. We have found that in using television, as we've learned how to use the medium, it's becoming increasingly effective. And we do know there are an awful lot of people get most of their information from television rather than from other media. We can't afford to neglect these people.
Well, I can naturally see the advantages of sight, sound, movement, and color, especially to merchandise such as your own, and that lending its credibility, believability to what your people are doing.
It's great from that viewpoint. We actually can take a television viewer for a walk or a stroll through the Levitz operation.
I wish you would think, as a suggestion, in some of the development of your new commercials, that you would either personally involve yourself in them or your managers to explain to people what you're doing, how you're doing, and the things that they can do to help themselves in pre-selection and a few other things which we might talk about later.
Yes.
But let me ask you to turn your attention to the opening of stores. For instance, right here, one in Washington, you have 3 stores planned, 2, I believe, are open.
Right.
Well, why this area concept for opening new stores? And how does advertising play a role in your decision-making? For instance, how does that television fit into this concept compared to other media?
Yeah, well, this is a cluster concept, and it's not totally new. Other big chains take advantage of it. For example, Sears, Roebuck, and Penny's, and so forth. In that when you have a number of units in an area, these units can share the advertising costs, and therefore the advertising cost per unit comes out very low percentage-wise. It's what you call an advertising blanket.
A coverage pattern and taking advantage of where the advertising is rather than geographical lines of markets.
Right.
Well, prior to entering a new market, the image people get about your stores comes largely from television. Now, yet you start a campaign only a relatively short time before opening. How do you justify this?
Well, bear in mind that it is a saturation program. We actually flood the papers, we flood the air, understand, with a great number of messages that have a great deal of impact. And we find that in a short period of perhaps as little as 2 weeks, we can get enough of the story across to ensure real action in the early days of the unit's opening.
Boy, it's been a long time coming because so many folks have said, let's spread it out over a long time, and it just doesn't generate the action. Well, what effect do you feel you're having, for instance, on your competitors' use of television? In Washington, I noticed that Curtis Brothers Furniture is now on television. Is that a result, do you think, of your own coming into the market?
Well, they tell us when Levitz comes to an area, the advertising lineage and the advertising on the air just absolutely jumps, because it finally alerts everybody to the fact that if they want to stay in business, they better let the public know what they've got to sell.
Do you have any set standards or percentages of budget which you would allocate to the various media?
It's flexible. It's flexible. We will allocate to the various media just about what we think they need. And of course, we develop an experience pattern, in the area. Yeah, that finally resolves all that.
Well, you do attempt, of course, an intermediate mix, and by that I guess I mean to ask the question, do you help direct the consumer, for instance, to your newspaper advertising with your use of radio or television?
Yes, we absolutely do that. We find that if we can get the media helping each other, the sum total is greater than any of its parts, so let's put it that way.
I wonder if you'd be good enough to really take a look at some of your own institutional advertising and describe for us the commercial material that will appear in your commercials. I think we have, for the benefit of our audience, a television commercial which deals really with your institutional approach to the marketplace.
Yes, we do. We have a story to tell there. One thing we do is use an institutional approach which simply explains to the viewer our Levitz Warehouse showroom concept and why we can offer her unusual savings.
We'd like to show you why you pay less for furniture at Levitz than at an ordinary furniture dealer. Let's start with what each dealer buys at the factory. If most dealers pay this much for furniture, Levitz would pay only this much, simply because Levitz buys such large quantities for all Levitz stores throughout the nation. When it comes to freight charges from factories, the average dealer pays this much, whereas Levitz saves as much as 2/3 because Levitz buys full car and train loads. Now, the average dealer has a higher overhead cost, as he must pay for separate warehousing, offices, and showroom. But Levitz combines offices, showroom, and warehouse under one roof, thereby cutting overhead costs drastically. And when it comes to adding the usual profit, most dealers must add much more than Levitz because they make just a few sales compared to Levitt's hundreds of thousands nationwide. When each adds up their costs to establish a price, you can see for yourself how much lower Levitt's price is and how much more you save at Levitz, the world's largest dealer in name brand furniture.
And then we have various event supporting spots which talk of a specific sales event taking place.
Levitz, world's largest dealer in name brand furniture, is starting the new year with a spectacular New Year's weekend warehouse sale.
See Levitt's big New Year's weekend sale ad in the newspaper. Then come see the drastic price reductions on America's best-known brands of furniture, beautifully displayed in Levitt's 250 model rooms.
And take your bargains home the same day with no waiting, no delays, or have Levitz delivered.
You'll love it at Levitt's on Dandy Boulevard in Tampa.
Levitz, the world's largest dealer in name brand furniture, is holding a fabulous pre-inventory warehouse sale.
Because at Levitt's, we'd rather sell it to you at drastically reduced prices than pay to have it counted.
Compare the unbelievably low prices in Levitt's big pre-inventory sale newspaper ad.
Then come see for yourself what fantastic bargains are waiting for you in Levitt's 250 beautifully decorated model rooms.
And you can take your great buys home the same day or have Levitz delivered.
You'll love it at Levitz on Dandy Boulevard in Tampa.
A third type of spot marries these two approaches into one. We explain our concept and then prove our saving story with actual examples of merchandise being offered.
If savings are important to you, Levitz Furniture has a giant chair event today with low warehouse prices. Just look at this famous Burris high-back swivel recliner, expertly crafted and meticulously designed to merit Kraler's 5-year warranty. It features spring-based construction, deep tufted back, all in lush, plush, Scotch-guarded velvet. Why pay up to $150 for this quality when you can purchase it now at Levitz for just $87? Whatever your taste, you'll find the perfect fabric, color, and style to match your decor at Levitz. Hundreds of chairs in stock and available for immediate delivery in a price range to fit your budget. Shop, compare, and save the Levitz Warehouse Way on America's most famous brand of fine furnishings. Famous from coast to coast, Levitz Furniture Warehouse and showrooms are open daily from 10 till 10. Sundays from noon till 6 on the Bay Shore Freeway at the Agnew exit in Santa Clara.
In the past few years, your company has grown tremendously. We've shared these figures with our audience, your profits, and we want to congratulate you and the entire Levitz family for this. But may I just ask one more question, namely, the rate of growth is difficult to sustain in future years. What factors are necessary to help you maintain this kind of rapid expansion?
Well, let's say it takes imagination and people. And the same group of people have developed this concept, haven't gone to sleep since they've developed the concept. They have lots of new ideas and lots of new ways of penetrating this market, staying in the business that we know best. And we have many, many programs that we expect to project into the future. We're not looking for a slow-up in the expansion program for a long time to come.
Well, Ralph Levitz, I'd like to just take this opportunity to thank you, Mr. Leon Levitz, the president of the company, and the rest of the Levitz family, who I've been delighted to meet, for this penetrating insight into your business, which you've been good enough to share with other businessmen and those of us in media. Because if we don't help business grow in our country, we're in pretty sad shape. And we see funny things happening in foreign countries where they would like to sort of plateau. This is not the American way, and so it's just delightful to have had you here.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Being here.
Thank you.
Yes.